that watched the news yesterday, there was a lot going on. For the last, this has been a real busy week with a lot of things that's been going on. As everybody knows, we've got a important day that's coming up next Monday, and that is Memorial Day. And a lot of people don't realize the importance of what Memorial Day represents. Some people think Memorial Day is a day where it's just an extended 3-day weekend, that they're off on, naturally, most people are off on Saturdays and Sundays, but then they get that Monday off as well. But a lot of people need to realize, too, that there's a lot of people that gave their lives to fight for our freedoms here in the United States. So do your research, do your homework, and look in terms of, say, the difference between what Memorial Day represents. Especially, I encourage African Americans to do some homework, do some research to find out exactly what Memorial Day, how it represented a lot of people. But it should be something where Black people should really realize, hey, there's a lot of people that are understanding Memorial Day to be something different than what we see Memorial Day to represent in our lives. So again, do your homework, research it, but the main thing is have a very, very safe holiday weekend. We know that there's a lot going on in the city of Detroit, as well as in Highland Park. There's a candidate forum that's going on in Highland Park tomorrow. That's going to be for the people that are looking for your support here in Highland Park for mayor, city council, and I believe also clerk, and I think treasurer. But there's a lot of prominent people that are running and looking for your support. They had talked to me about moderating, but I've got so many other things that I'm doing tomorrow that I had to decline. But I'm hoping that they have a very, very engaging conversation with the people that especially are looking to get your support for mayor. And I'm not going to name any names. People know that's another, do your homework, because if I name one name, then I got to try and name the rest of them. And I know that I could probably rattle off the names of 4 people, but I'd probably miss that 5th person that's running for mayor. So I'm just going to leave it that it's going to be at Soul Harvest Church, which is located right there across from where Powerhouse is at in Highland Park on Woodward, just south of 6 Mile. Go to break. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with my special guest on the show today. So stay tuned.
Good morning. Today's a beautiful day, and today's not only a beautiful day because we're here in Inkster, but it's a beautiful day because I'm here with Pastor Gene Overman. I have the pleasure to serve on Operation Refuge as a board of director. This organization not only serves Inkster, but the neighborhood communities. I mean, the work we do here is beyond. It's led by Pastor Gene Overman. I've known Pastor Gene Overman for over 10 years. Everybody claims that that's her son, this is that. I mean, we go way back. She's mentored me. She's helped me throughout my career. I love you, Pastor. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on today?
Well, we're so excited, and thank you, Safe, for bringing a team in to really help us get the word out. Today, we're doing our food that we do consistently every Wednesday and Thursday throughout the month, and just very excited to share with everyone listening that Operation Refuge has Mother's Pantry. It is a client choice food pantry that we are very thankful that you come in here, and it's a place of dignity. You shop just like you're at Trader Joe's, hopefully, or one of the better grocery stores. So we're on the main strip because we want our families to leave those houses if you have a need and come over. And that's whether you're here, Dearborn Heights, Garden City, all of our surrounding communities in Southeast Michigan, Wayne County, actually, we really serve great food, and we have lots of programs. So, but today we're here talking about Mother's Pantry, and you get the chance to see some of the interactivity at Mother's Pantry with our families. And sometimes there's a great need, and sometimes you find yourself the working, underemployed. So we have lots of Alice families where you're right at that threshold where you cannot receive benefits, but you still need that support. So we're very thankful that through many partnerships with Operation Refuge, we are able to provide good, nutritious food.
What I love about our pantry is the fact that you can come in, park your car, and shop like you're walking into a grocery store.
Yes.
Nobody can tell you can't take this or you can't take that, and
right.
that's a sense of pride where you're not hurting anybody's feelings, and then I can walk in, get what I want, and leave. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's an amazing.
And you leave with your dignity, and
Exactly.
oftentimes when we have food insecurity, you feel some sort of way to start with, right?
Absolutely.
So when you come in, we want to have the best choices.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we really do have excellent choices. We have halal, we have kosher, and we have partners that ensure that we keep what all of our families need.
Yeah.
So we're just very thankful.
It's your leadership and your vision. That's why, right?
And the board of directors,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I can't get it done without
Absolutely.
you all. And as you see from the young man, you lead with fresh pineapple.
I love
fresh
it.
food,
I love it.
Right? And whether you're walking
I love
or you're
it.
able to drive up, our door is open for you.
And then the line, I can see
Yeah.
the line.
Yeah,
I mean, when
and
I pulled
actually
up, was all the
shortening, yes.
yeah, it was all the way down to the STEM building. So
Yes,
it's
so-
amazing. It's a sunny day. Come to Inkster, folks. Thank you, Pastor. I love
Thank you.
The young lady that's in the middle, I don't think that if you are a Highland Parker, that you probably don't need to do too much unless you kind of have to squint and like say, boy, she looks a whole lot younger on TV than she does in person or something like that. But, you know, we have none other than the House representative in Lansing, and she represents House District 7. And that covers like parts of Detroit, Highland Park, Hamtramck, and she is none other than Tanya Myers Phillips. And she is a hard-working young lady. I do want to say that I've known Tanya for years, and when I first met Tanya, Tanya was doing a lot when it came down to the Michigan State Fairgrounds, and there was a lot of work that she was doing trying to go, and there were some people that were trying to acquire the Michigan State Fairgrounds, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, you know, during our conversation. And then also we are joined by Dr. Sananda Samadar, and a lot of you know her. She and I, we co-moderated a candidate forum at the Yacht Club a couple of weeks ago that was covering redistricting in the 13th Congressional District. And we will be doing that again next month for the 12th District as well. So again, she teaches anthropology, is that correct?
That's correct.
At Wayne County Community College District. So again, we welcome you both to Truth to Power today. But I just want to give our viewers an opportunity to, one, before we take the break, I definitely want to let everybody know there's this candidate forum that's going to be going on tomorrow, and I do pray that everything goes well with this forum. A lot of you knew about what happened up in Lansing, where there was a shakeup. And when I say that, there was a shakeup where a lot of people were talking about the Voting Rights Act. And I know some people got together on the Capitol steps, good friends of mine. They were up there yesterday. Commissioner Michael Howard, several people that are regulars on the show, Joe Rutherford, Rhonda Powell, Lexus Ramsey, a lot of folks that were up there, you know, trying to get people to get more information and to get the elected officials to sign off on the Voting Rights Act. And I saw where I believe it was Lori Pohutsky, is that the state rep, that I think she put out something, and I think she had something on her letterhead yesterday, Rep Myers Phillips, that said that she had a lot of support from a lot of congressional people, including former state reps that was on there as well. I think I saw Sherry Gadig-Nogo that had signed off, on that as well. But if you could pretty much like just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are, your, a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of get into more of the questions about the Voting Rights Act, and then also, the importance of that, where people need to realize what happened down in those states, those southern states, and why we need to really keep abreast of what's going on.
Absolutely. And it is a pleasure to be here this morning, Darwin. It is such a pleasure to sit beside you, Doctor, and talk about these important, critical issues that impact all of our lives and our children's lives. Just a little bit about me and my background. I am a lifelong Detroit resident. I'm here to stay, not going anywhere. My background, I have a legal background. I practiced law before serving in the state legislature, and my career was to practice law in the public interest. So I did a lot of work around civil rights, constitutional rights, government accountability, and housing work, keeping our most vulnerable community members in their home and representing them when they were facing eviction. So it wasn't a huge leap to go from legal advocacy to legislating, and it's been an honor and a privilege to serve, and there has been a lot of things happening, so I'm glad that I'm able to contribute and represent the people in our community in Highland Park, Hamtramck, and Detroit, and make sure our voices and concerns and demands are at the table as the state lawmaking process and appropriation processes are going on. So that's a very brief background. And in terms of my role in Lansing, I do serve on two committees: the Committee on Natural Resources and Tourism, the Energy Committee, and I also I have some leadership roles within the caucus. I'm the Detroit caucus treasurer, and I'm also one of the organizers for the Michigan House Democratic Party Vision Project. And essentially,
what the Vision Project?
Vision. We have a new vision. Okay, well, basically sticking to the basics and making sure that we are out in the community as a party, as a House caucus, holding listening sessions and tying those things in which we're hearing from community members all across the state of Michigan, and incorporating that into our official party platform, because with the help of our community members, we plan on winning the House back in 2027. And a lot of the nonsense that we're seeing right now, leadership matters. When you have the right people in control, then you have the right policies that can get implemented. So we plan on winning in 2027 and passing some good laws.
Explain that to the average lay person that doesn't understand when you say taking the House back or winning the House back. There's a lot of people that don't understand that. Can you explain what that means?
Thank you so much for asking that and bringing me back here to level set. So in our government, right now we have the three pillars in state government. As we say, we have our Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who is a Democrat. We have our Senate, members of the Michigan Senate, and the majority of persons who are elected to the Senate are Democrats. Therefore, the leadership of that body is led by Democrats. And then we have the Michigan House of Representatives, and the majority of persons who were elected to the Michigan House of Representatives this past session are Republicans. Democrats lost seats, or some Democrat members did not prevail against Republicans for the last election. So in the House, the leadership, whichever party has the most representatives, they choose the Speaker of the House, or the highest ranking official. And what a lot of people don't know is that we do have a democratic system of governance, but when it comes to how the House and the Senate and the chambers work, that is kind of a winner takes most type of system. So whichever party has the most members, they appoint the speaker, and the speaker has a lot of authority in terms of what rules are implemented, what votes are taken up, what committees people serve on or not. So voting matters in so many ways. I mean, it matters for your direct representation. Like, I'm the representative for House District 7 and am advocating for Detroit, Highland Park, and Hamtramck. But beyond even one representative, it matters for the collective, who gets to make a lot of the decisions. Now, all power is not absolute, but it sure helps, if you're not starting in the red, so to speak, from a power standpoint. So, think about that. There's so many layers to voting. It's I think we've done a lot of improvement over the last few years in making voting more accessible in our community. Now we have early voting, so we have absentee voting, no reason absentee. Remember back in the day you had to have, a specific reason where you could cast your ballot early. Now, if you want to cast your ballot and vote by mail and vote early, that kind of starts about mid-June. You don't have to be a senior citizen or have a disability. You can just say, you know what, I want to vote, get my vote in early, and I've taken care of that. So we can start voting by mail in June. We have 9 days of early in-person voting. The Republicans there passed this big, beautiful bill last year, which essentially has led a lot of people to not be able to afford their health care coverage anymore. So housing, health care, energy costs, basically all of those things that impact our day-to-day lives, we're committed to implementing laws and policies that make life more affordable. It's a pocketbook agenda. And coupled with that, and we're going to get into the Voting Rights Act, we see this outright attack and assault on democracy. But who's on the front lines getting the most assault from that? Okay. And unfortunately, our president and those Republicans that are supporting him are not even shy about it in terms of saying we want to dismantle and destroy and break up predominantly black voting districts to make it so black people is going to be very difficult to elect representatives that look like me, that look like Darwin, with what's happening at the national level. So we are also committed, I'm committed as an individual, and we are committed as a party to upholding fair and equitable election laws and districts. So it's a suite of democracy work and bills that we are committed to fighting for and implementing day one in 2027.
So when we look, Rep. Myers-Phillips, when we look in terms of, say, of what's happened in the nation, and they're talking about those states down south, and now that here you've got Derrick Johnson, the president of NAACP, that's pretty much pushing to try and get a lot of the black athletes to kind of boycott those states that are not buying into the Voting Rights Act. What do you think about that? I mean, there's a lot of people I think that I've seen where a lot of people have come out in support, of that initiative. But then there's other people that are kind of weighing on the other side saying, wait a minute, you got prominent schools where these black athletes could go down there and get millions through NIL, name, image, and likeness. And it may be jeopardizing their futures to be able to go and play at schools like University of Alabama, Auburn University, Texas, Louisiana State, and some of those places. But I think that there's a lot of people that don't quite understand. And if you can kind of just kind of clear up a little bit more about what happened in Louisiana. With that Voting Rights Act. And if you can kind of explain, because a lot of people don't understand, and that's why we brought you on, because we know you understand. You're in legislation.
Yes.
You know these things, and and you can probably educate people that probably don't know as much as, say, what me or Dr. Sananda might know, but the average layperson that doesn't know, just to kind of break it off into terms like what happened in Louisiana, and then how that could affect others, throughout the state.
I also want to remind our audience that we've already lost 11 out of 13 voting districts here in Michigan. So this has already affected us greatly. So this is an important conversation because what's happening in Louisiana already happened to us. We haven't even internalized the effects. So perhaps it'll be easier to talk about Louisiana and bring the breakdown back to us in terms of more autonomy.
Yes, it's definitely a lot to unpack, and this is a conversation that we'll continue to have in our community. So where do we start? And I do want to say, sometimes, especially new voters, feel intimidated sometimes for, not knowing this or not knowing that. It's a lot of information, and the way we consume information is completely changed. And I just want to step aside for a second and say that's why I appreciate your show so much, Truth to Power, because you give an opportunity for us to have a dialogue. It isn't so snap, 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 snap. And a lot of times that's what you'll hear, how it's reported, little snippets. So it's hard to digest the magnitude of what's happening if you're only, getting maybe a minute or two, of news reporting or whatnot. So thank you for the space you hold in this community to
Appreciate you saying that.
To allow us to break it down, or it's not Voting Rights Act, something happened bad, then to whatever else is going on, you only get a minute or two of substantive news. So thank you, Darwin. The Voting Rights Act of 1965, that has been the pillar of upholding our ability, as Black people, as historically disenfranchised people, to be able to participate meaningfully in this democracy. So just, close your eyes and take ourselves back to how this country operated before 1965, with the unrest, with the attacks on people trying to vote and participate in our democracy, trying to be acknowledged as an equal human being. So take yourself back to that state where we were in this country.
Well, I need you to put a pin on it. Tim is telling me we need to take another break. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're coming back with none other than somebody that's going to educate me and others when it comes down to the Voting Rights Act. And with Dr. Sananda Samadar, we have none other than the state representative that represents House District 7 here in Highland Park, Hamtramck, parts of Detroit. And she is none other than the Honorable, and I like you using that term, the Honorable Tanya Myers Phillips. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabree. If you're behind on your property taxes, we have programs to help. You don't have to lose your house, and you don't have to pay all at once. This summer, our mobile unit will be visiting Wayne County communities to help make it easier to start a payment plan and keep your property. Go online or call to find the plan that's right for you and where you can get help from our mobile unit. The last thing I want is for anyone to lose their property to foreclosure. Make your payments every month and keep your property.
Hey, Michigan, let's think beyond the sink and learn where the water your family drinks every day comes from. Private wells and public water supplies allow homes across Michigan to draw water from different sources, like lakes, rivers, and groundwater. Tap into the facts about your home's water source and learn about your home's water quality to protect your family's health. Visit michigan.gov/care4MI drinking water. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
My name is Darwin Griffin, and I am the host of Truth to Power, which is a thoughtful weekly TV show that airs on WHPR TV 15.2 every Friday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, bringing influential voices and leaders to the forefront to discuss issues that impact our cities, our states, and the world. This show aims to educate, inspire, and engage our audience with people in today's news.
Clean up on aisle 5. Sounds like my life right now. Just one big mess.
What's going on?
It's my property taxes.
What?
I am behind and I am so worried that I'm gonna lose my house. I can pay some of it, but I can't pay it all at once.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Eric Sabri, the Wayne County Treasurer. The last thing I want is for anyone to lose their property to tax foreclosure. We have assistance programs to help.
For more information, go to treasurer.waynecounty.com.
We're here to help.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
All media platforms are engaged. Copy. Get ready to launch your show or product. Periscope ready. We're 5x5 ready to launch. Copy that. Trend worldwide across all major platforms.
Ignition. 3, 2, 1.
The world is waiting. Watkins Broadcasting. More than just TV.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
Sananda Samadar, as well as State Representative in House District 7, the Honorable Tanya Myers Phillips. But before, Rep. Phillips, we went into the break, you were talking to us a little bit about civic engagement. And when I say civic engagement, in terms of say about what, when we were talking about the Voting Rights Act, what that entails. So can you kind of, if you can kind of delve back onto that conversation, we appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we were talking about putting yourself, closing your eyes and going back to how our country was before 1965. Okay. So before the Voting Rights Act, states, particularly the southern states, could legally discriminate or do things to keep black people from voting. So we had things like the poll tax. We had, or back in the day, you had to kind of pay money. You had to take silly tests to be able to vote. Your elected officials could turn people away. They could put maps in place where there would, in majority black communities, they could draw your district lines in such a way that you could never come together to use your power. So let me give you a visualization right now. Say, Highland Park right now is, a majority black city, majority black area. So is Detroit. If you decide to, for easy math, so to speak, let's say, there's a circle and the majority of people in the circle are one district. You can, if you want to dilute the power of that district, these are things that states used to do, but now they're doing it again after our recent Supreme Court ruling. There's a thing called cracking, and then packing. So you could do the cracking strategies when you take one district or one circle and you carve this circle, let's say, up into 10 different parts and make 10 different districts out of that. So you're breaking up one circle into 10 different pieces. So it's hard for all the individuals that live in this area to bring their vote together to represent, to elect a candidate of their choosing, because you're taking, let's say you take a piece of Highland Park and you group it up with Hazel Park and you group it up with Royal Oak and you throw parts out to Ferndale and you do parts out to Detroit. You know, you're breaking that district up into such small pieces where that is hard for that city or that area, you know, or the majority of people that live in that area to say, hey, you know, we're going to, you know, get together and vote for, you know, someone who's really representing our interests when you break it up like that. Another strategy is the packing, and that is where, and we saw through the redistricting process over years, sometimes you can draw a map that looks so convoluted. This is where the term gerrymandering kind of comes from, where you're just like, you know what, you know, these majority black cities, Detroit, Pontiac, Highland Park, you know, Benton Harbor, you know, these other pockets, you know, you're like, you know what, that could produce maybe about 5 or 6 black representatives. No. Let's draw the lines, kind of like a weird squiggly thing across the state where we're vacuuming and pulling all the districts of certain demographics into one odd-looking mega district with no connection to geography or neighborhood. It's like, you know what? Y'all get one in this state. That's how we're going to do it. So that's the packing strategy. So the Voting Rights Act of 1965 said, you know what? That's illegal. You can't do that. We're not doing that. You know, states and governments can't take these kind of deliberate actions to oppress majority minority voters. And, you know, you have to draw lines in some kind of way that makes sense where, you know, an equitable representation can be obtained. Along with that, there were legal remedies where if states or municipalities or government actors were doing this, then the United States government, you know, or individuals could go to court and could sue on the Voting Rights Act and, you know, get legal recourse and have the court say, no, this is illegal. You can't do that, you know, to black voters or minority voters, and you have to fix these maps in a way that's fair and equitable. So that strength is what allowed many of our votes to actually count, you know? So that was the state of the law. But over the years, you know, there have been a series of rulings that have been chipping away at that. But what we saw recently from the U.S. Supreme Court was the gut punch to Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And basically that said, you know what, unless it's the political actors explicitly say we're drawing these lines because we don't want the black people or other races to have a voice, you know, unless it's that explicit, they said anything else is okay. It's okay to draw district lines based on partisan interests. So, you know, in real talk, what these states did is say, okay, well, we'll just say it's partisan interests. You know, that's what we're doing. And they are getting rid of their black representatives. And get this, you know, stop me if I'm going on too long, but I want to give the background to the case that made it up to the Supreme Court. So it you know, it's not as abstract. This is what really happened. So in Louisiana is about a third black. About a third of the residents in the state of Louisiana are black. They had 6 seats that were in contention. So out of those 6, only one was drawn. Only one district was a predominantly black district. So in other words, the black people represented about a third of the state, but the district lines were drawn in such a way where black representation was kind of peaked out. It was designed where you weren't going to get more than 15% representation.
So they wanted to dilute it.
Right. So 15% representation according to these district maps, you know, but nearly a third of the population in the state. Okay. And the predominantly white legislature, they just like, that's the way they want it. Okay. So there was a lawsuit. Lawsuits were filed. You know, this went through the kind of went up through the courts, and the plaintiffs, I believe the NAACP was suing in that one, and other persons of color. They won. Okay, they won. The state of Louisiana went back and redrew another map to add an additional predominantly black district. So then there were 2. You know, which was more reflective of the actual population and demographics. Then another group of plaintiffs sued again, and they called themselves, you know, described themselves as, you know, persons that were not of African American descent. So, you know, this other random group of people said they were suing and saying the maps were discriminatory. Okay, not black people. So they had a problem with the FAIR maps and said, well, that, you know, race was involved in drawing this map.
And it explicitly was.
Right, because it was remedying the other map that was drawn to discriminate against people of race. So this was a remedial kind of map to fix the wrong. And they were saying, even though you were fixing the wrong, you considered race in that, and that's problematic. And yes, we sit with that.
So now the law makes perfect sense. Now it makes perfect sense, because if you rebuke a redistricting by calling the race card, then you're out. You can't come to the table.
Well, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, because essentially what the court said is like, even though people were wronged on the basis of their race, you can't remedy it on the basis of their race, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So the Supreme Court said you can't do that. You know, if you have partisan goals, you can do what you want to do. So right after that, Louisiana, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, you know, I'm sure there's another one, Alabama, they got to work and start redrawing their maps. Midterm elections were in process. They were canceled.
Wow.
Canceled. People already cast their votes.
They canceled the elections?
Yeah, canceled.
That's legal?
Well, according to the Supreme Court, it's just fine. So, yeah, in order to give themselves time to redraw discriminatory maps
before
once
again.
Primaries. Yeah. So it's wild in the South right now.
What was their argument to cancel the elections? What made it so urgent?
Oh, they were saying, the Supreme Court said that, you know, fixing a map based on using race or acknowledging race and fixing a map, like, we don't have to do that. So they kind of, again, are talking out of both sides of their mouth.
But the courts don't care about how it affects the timing of the electoral process
itself. This is the hypocrisy of it and the utter disappointment. And it's hard for me to say that as a lawyer. Lawyers, we love our court rules. We love to believe in the orderliness of the law and the legal system. So it is hard to say that as a lawyer. But the Supreme Court went against years and years and years of precedent, or what the norm was, doctor, because just like you said, like, do they do that? The normal precedent, or the way the court normally handles these cases, is to defer. If it's an election-related case, the court has traditionally said, you know what, if it's a major change involving an election is happening or is about to happen, we are going to delay that change into the following cycle, because our democracy and ability to participate is too precious to allow these kind of drastic changes at the last minute. So, you know, the plaintiffs again in Louisiana said, okay, court, this was a terrible ruling, but can you at least stay the order? Can you at least continue doing what the Supreme Court has been doing for a long time and not saying this will take effect immediately? And they're like, nope, immediate is fine. So you have seen the toppling of the democratic process in these southern states. And even in Tennessee, you know, the black representatives and Democratic representatives, you know, allies who spoke up about the unfair process in Tennessee, state representatives like myself, you know, who were using their voice, using their platform to speak out and about this unfair process in Tennessee, they were all removed from their committee assignments, which is functionally like you can't really fire an elected official. The voters would have to recall you, but it's prohibiting you from being at the table, from doing business, from really fighting for and representing your constituents in the House.
I'm closing my eyes
drastic.
and I'm seeing like a glass wall of 1965 where they're just going in front of our faces.
Yes.
And
yes, is that bad.
So where will we physically, materially be in 10 years? Will we be in 1965 again?
We have to fight to make sure it doesn't happen, which brings it all home to why, you know, I know sometimes, you know, we've said this is the most important election of your life. This is the most important election of your life. And people get tired of kind of hearing that.
Each one is.
Yes, because the escalating series of changes from these last elections with this crop of Republicans and MAGA-minded people, their collective change in our laws, it is destroying a good part of our democracy. So this is, this is the most important election, I would say, that we've experienced in my lifetime. It is the most important and most consequential. So in Michigan, it's kind of like we have to do a couple of things at the same time, and we have to learn from history. So we have to take care of the home front first. So in Michigan, we have some things going for in our favor. And then I'm going to tell you about a bill that I've introduced along with my colleagues to double down and make sure the home front is protected. The things we have going on in our favor, we did vote for a constitutional amendment. What was that, 2018? No, let me screw up the date on television, but it was Proposal 2, and that has allowed us to, you know, have this robust absentee voting process, you know, the 9 days of early voting, no reason absentee. Our young people now at the age of 16, they can kind of pre-register to vote, so they're already set when they turn 18 now.
Yeah, because that's something that kicks in automatically once they turn 18. Then they can just sign off saying that, yes, I am already registered to vote.
Yes.
And don't have to go through the process of filling out the paperwork and that kind of thing.
Yes. Beautiful. I love that. So we have strengthening the voter access pipeline in Michigan, and the voters overwhelmingly voted to change our constitution to allow that. We do have a Michigan independent redistricting committee, and they did their work. You know, some pros and cons to how you look at it, but what that did, at least in this moment of time, it's given us a little bit more buffer from the legislature just kind of going crazy like you see in the South, because we do have a commission, and our redrawing lines process is supposed to come through that body. However, again, like I said, as a lawyer, I love the law and the protections and boundaries and guidance of it. But, you know, we have to put on our realistic hats, right? And we see what is coming down on the federal level, everything that's happening at the federal level. The people, Republicans in the House, they are trying to duplicate that as best they can. And they're also putting forth a ballot initiative to require things like voter identification, proof of citizenship when you vote, things that are already vetted when you register to vote. Basically, they're trying to make it more difficult, again, to get more working class voters, black and brown voters, poor voters.
It took 100 years to get the Voting Rights Act. It took 100 years from 1865 to 1965 to say that people have a right to participate as a community. And a lot of the conservative discourse will be like one vote, one man.
Yeah,
it's like but then we have a layered government. We have community. We got. Right. And so where does the governance come in when they're like this? And I would just like to say there are a lot of very strong ethnic voting districts in Michigan.
Yeah.
And we're just fine. Hamtramck seems fine. Troy seems fine. Bloomfield seems fine. We're not being redistricted at all.
You know, we fine for today. Fine for today.
True.
But we have to
stay woke.
Exactly.
We got to make sure we stay woke because we don't know what can happen tomorrow. But I want you, State Rep, to kind of get into more detail because if somebody wants to get more information about you, about the district that you represent, and just to find out more about what's at stake, and staying woke about the Voting Rights Act, and the committees that you serve on, give your contact information, before we have to sign off, please.
Absolutely. So here's the phone number where you can reach me: 517-373-2276. Again, that's 517-373-2276. And then you spell my name. You can go to my website for the state of Michigan, and that's spelled Tonya, Myers, Myers, Phillips, Philllips. So if you Google Tonya Myers Phillips, my webpage is like the first thing you see, and then you can go up and sign up for the newsletter under the House Dems. Each representative, you have a newsletter that you can sign up for, so then you can receive emails, you can receive text messages of things that I'm working on, key updates. I send them like every month. Text messages when I'm doing coffee hours. I'm doing one today at 1:00 at the Duffield Branch Library in Detroit. So give me a call.
That's right up there on the boulevard.
On the boulevard,
yes,
okay. Yes. So, give me a call or just, look up my information on the House Democrat page, and please sign up for updates. And before we go again, so we have to stay woke, stay ready, learn from our past. And that is why I, along with my colleagues, Democratic colleagues in the House and the Senate, and our Secretary of State is also in support, along with, county clerks throughout Michigan, are either supportive or neutral. They're not opposed to the Michigan Voting Rights Act, because there are elements of, our redistricting process that reference the federal Voting Rights Act. And since that's not in as good shape anymore, we have to, introduce state law to be able to protect ourselves. So I'm proud to have been able to introduce that, and we are going to fight for that, fight tooth and nail. And, if we do not get this passed by the end of the year again, I believe if we come together and tell your friends and family, your neighbors all over the state of Michigan, if you don't do anything else at all this year, make sure that you vote and that you have people who are fighting for your interests and care about people in these positions. It is mission critical right now.
And and that's really crucial, because this is your first or your second term?
This is my first term, second year, first term. Yeah. And
that's the thing, because you're really under the gun because you're trying to get as much done in that first year. And in some cases, you're still kind of learning the whole process, learning the colleagues that you have on both sides of the fence. And when you want to try and get something done, as you were saying before, that it's the other side that's in the majority. So you have to get some of the people from the other side to join with you and your colleagues that are trying to get a bill passed. So there's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of conversation.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of, well, okay, if I support you, will you support me? That kind of thing. So, the one thing that, we do here at Watkins Broadcasting is that we want to give equal opportunity to everyone that may be looking to get the support in the various different races that they're running in. So we would like to extend the invitation to the individuals that are running on both the Republican side and the Democratic side for House District 7. And if you'd like to get more information, you'd like to come on Truth to Power, then you can contact us here at Watkins Broadcasting, here at WHPR, and you can contact us at 313-868-4336. Again, that's 313-868-4336. And you can talk to our general manager here. Her name is Mrs. Maxine Willis. and she's our political person that can give you that information. And then also at the same time too, if a person wants to advertise with us, if you have a advertisement that you'd like to do here at the station, you can also contact Ms. Willis, and she can give you the details about how you can go and you can advertise here at WHPR TV, because we want to make certain that we give real news with real people such as State Rep Tanya Myers Phillips and others that may want to come on and be a part of our dialogue. One thing before we wrap up, State Rep, is that there's a lot of people right now that were kind of shocked by the decision yesterday that the former mayor of the city of Detroit, Mike Duggan, was not going to continue in the race for governor. But as a lot of you know, he was running as an independent.
Right.
And I just want to kind of get your take real quick, State Rep, as to what you or some of your colleagues, in Lansing, what kind of an impact, or did it make an impact on some of your colleagues up there? Because if, you're looking at trying to get a person that's going to be able to go and get both sides of the fence to support laws. And how did that, or what kind of impact did it make on you when you first heard the news? And then what did any of your colleagues, what did they say when they heard the news as well?
That's an interesting question. Well, for me, I, of course, have to acknowledge that I'm a Democrat, right? And politics is a team sport. It is, you don't get to, the voters choose the team, right? But it's your team. And when you're looking at passing legislation, you as any diligent legislator should, you're counting how many people are with you. How many people you need to get across the finish line. So all that said, as a Democrat and, one who supported the secretary, I think that overall the sentiment has been for Democrats that is, that's welcome. Many people, Democrats, were concerned that an independent candidate, could have, split those votes. And it's not like a personal animus kind of thing or anything like that. But working with some of my colleagues every day and seeing how difficult it is that to work with, around, or through the MAGA mindset and agenda. I don't want anybody like that as my governor. I do not. So for me to increase the odds of us receiving, being able to vote in a gubernatorial candidate, that has people-centered values, democratic values, and is not kind of beholden to Trump and the MAGA agenda, which the other side is campaigning on proudly. They're saying Trump, 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 more Trump. That's not in our community's best interest. It is not, And with that kind of leadership in the House, this session, the least amount of bills have been passed since World War I. It's not a good way to do business. It's not a people-centered way of doing business. It's very kind of like a cult and just cruel. So that is my opinion about the matter. So I'm looking forward to working with, in addition to my own race, working with Democrats all across the state. Again, the center of my policy analysis and motivation, it is not, partisanship is not at the center for me. But again, the way things are right now, I just would be very, very worried if one of the gentlemen that's putting forth their candidacy on the Republican side became our governor. I'd be very worried, for us.
We got to wrap this segment up. We are with the Honorable House District 7 Representative Tanya Myers Phillips. And again, House District 7 is covering Detroit,
yes,
Highland Park, and Hamtramck.
Yes.
can you give your contact information again one more time before we wrap up this segment with you, please?
Absolutely. Feel free to contact me at 517-373-2276, and you can leave a voicemail message. My team and I, we are checking those messages every day. You can also reach out to me by email. If you just remember to spell it in my name, you have it. So Tanya Myers Phillips at house.mi.gov, and you can always Google, so you can reach out to me by phone, or by email, sign up for those web updates. I have the honor and privilege of representing District 7. I love hearing from community members and constituents, because that's how I make decisions and know that I'm on the right track when I'm hearing from community members. So, please call, please email. And you know what, even if you're not in the district, we state representatives, we have to wear multiple hats. We represent our district, but we also have to make decisions that are in the best interest of the state, because cities are subordinates of the state structure. So even if you're not in District 7, if you want to give me a call, shoot me an email, I welcome it. I'm here to serve and would love to hear from you.
Spoken like a true public servant. Again, thank you, State Representative Tanya Myers Phillips, for all that you do and all that you will do. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We will be right back, so you don't want to miss our next special guest that's coming on this special edition of Truth to Power. Stay tuned.
On aisle 5. Sounds like my life right now. Just one big mess.
What's going on?
It's my property taxes.
What?
I am behind, and I am so worried that I'm going to lose my house. I can pay some of it, but I can't pay it all at once.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Eric Sabri, the Wayne County Treasurer. The last thing I want is for anyone to lose their property to tax foreclosure. We have assistance programs to help.
For more information, go to treasurer.waynecounty.com.
We're here to help.
Good morning. Today's a beautiful day, and today's not only a beautiful day because we're here in Inkster, but it's a beautiful day because I'm here with Pastor Gene Overman. I have the pleasure to serve on Operation Refuge as a board of director. This organization not only serves Inkster, but the neighborhood communities. I mean, the work we do here is beyond. It's led by Pastor Gene Overman. I've known Pastor Gene Overman for over 10 years. Everybody claims that that's her son, this is that. I mean, we go way back. She's mentored me. She's helped me throughout my career. I love you, Pastor. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on today?
Well, we're so excited, and thank you, Safe, for bringing a team in to really help us get the word out. Today we're doing our food that we do consistently every Wednesday and Thursday throughout the month, and just very excited to share with everyone listening that Operation Refuge has Mother's Pantry. It is a client choice food pantry that we are very thankful that you come in here and it's a place of dignity. You shop just like you're at Trader Joe's, hopefully, or one of the better grocery stores. So we're on the main strip because we want our families to leave those houses if you have a need and come over. And that's whether you're here, Dearborn Heights, Garden City, all of our surrounding communities in Southeast Michigan, Wayne County, actually. We really serve great food, and we have lots of programs. But today we're here talking about Mother's Pantry, and you get the chance to see some of the interactivity at Mother's Pantry with our families. And sometimes there's a great need, and sometimes you find yourself the working underemployed. So we have lots of Alice families where you're right at that threshold where you cannot receive benefits, but you still need that support. So we're very thankful that through many partnerships with Operation Refuge, we are able to provide good, nutritious food.
What I love about our pantry is the fact that you can come in, park your car, and shop like you're walking into a grocery store. Yes. Nobody can tell you you can't take this or you can't take that. That's a sense of pride where you're not hurting anybody's feelings, and then I can walk in, get what I want, and leave. I mean, that's an amazing.
And you leave with your dignity, and oftentimes when we have food insecurity, you feel some sort of way to start with, right?
Absolutely.
So when you come in, we want to have the best choices.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we really do have excellent choices. We have halal, we have kosher, and we have partners that ensure that we keep what all of our families need.
Yeah.
So we're just very thankful.
It's your leadership and your vision. That's why, right?
And the board of directors,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I can't get it done without
Absolutely.
you all. And as you see from the young man, you leave with fresh pineapple.
I love
fresh
it.
food,
I love it.
Right? And whether you're walking
I
or
love
you're
it.
able to drive up, our door is open for you.
And then the line, I can see
Yeah.
the line.
Yeah,
I mean, when
and
I pulled
actually
up, was all the
shortening, yeah.
yeah, it was all the way down to the STEM building. So
Yeah,
it's
so-
amazing. It's a sunny day. Come to Inkster, folks. Thank you,
Yeah.
Pastor. I
Thank
love you.
WGPR Detroit HD3.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
From the desk of RJ Watkins, this is a WHPR editorial.
I'm Ariana Watkins, and for decades, my father, RJ Watkins, has served our community with quality radio and TV service through WHPR and Roku. Today, I'm proud to stand beside him, continuing the legacy built on trust, innovation, and your support. We're here because of you, and we'll keep bringing you the best now and for generations to come. Thank you for supporting us and growing with us.
This has been a WHPR editorial.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Matter. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
.313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
And good morning and welcome again. You are watching a very special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin. And right now we are joined by a gentleman that I just recently met when myself and Dr. Sananda were doing a candidate forum. I seen some signs up when I was venturing through the east side of Detroit. And I'm like,
and the west side too,
and the west side. But I saw him on the east side. I looked and I saw that sign, and I'm like, who is this guy? And then here I got a chance to meet you in person. So none other than Toinu Reeves. I'm saying your first name correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. But you are a Democrat. And you are running for state senate in District 3, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and we know that that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of cover too, was for some of the people that do not understand. That is a open seat, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct, yep.
And it is an open seat because State Senator Stephanie Chang was in that seat before, correct?
Correct. She's presently in it.
And now she is term limited out.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I can let you explain a little bit more about what that means when I say the term limited out, you know, as to in the Senate, in the House, you get 12 years that you can serve in Lansing.
Correct.
You can do a combination of both. You can do 6 terms, 2-year terms as a House representative, which totals up to be 12, 6 times 2. Or you could do 3 4-year terms, which is what the state senators hold, 4-year terms. 3 times 4, that's 12. Or you could do a combination of, let's say if you did 4 2-year terms in the House and then did one 4-year term in the Senate that totals up 8 plus 4, that's 12. So there's a different, combinations that you could do, but you can't do no more than 12. That's different from how it was, before they changed the rules of engagement, and where you could do roughly about 14 years. But now you can only do up to 12. So again, State Senator Stephanie Chang is termed out. Now there are a variety of people that are seeking your support in that State District 3. And we do want to use a disclaimer that any other candidate that is running in State District 3 that would like to come on the show, that they can contact Ms. Willis here at WHPR TV, and they can contact her at 313-868-4336. And if they would like to get more information about even advertising here at WHPR TV, they are certainly welcome to contact her to discuss that, as well. All right, Tony, we know that there's a primary that's coming up August the 4th. And we know that you have been doing so much in the community, east side, west side of the city of Detroit. Tell our viewing audience a little bit about who Toyno Reeves is.
Thank you, Darwin and Dr. Samandar, for both of you for inviting me to the show here. So my name is Toyno Reeves. It's pronounced like new toy backwards, Toyno. I'm a lifelong East Sider. I was born, raised, and educated on the East Side of Detroit. I always like to say I was born at Hudson, which is east of John R. and Woodward. Okay. So I qualify for both of those East Side distinctions. I grew up over at Mack and Chrysler by the Brewsters, not too far from the Spain Middle School, that area over there. I went to Bates Academy when it was on 797 Dickerson on the East Side. My grandparents moved up from Mississippi to Jefferson Chalmers in '67. They bought a house there, and we've had that house in our family ever since. I'm presently living also in Jefferson Chalmers off of Clare Point Woods, closer to Gentry Maharis Park. After Bates Academy, I went to Country Day. I got a scholarship to go to Country Day, and after Country Day, I got a scholarship to go to Dartmouth College. After Dartmouth, I worked at Price Waterhouse for 2 years as an IT consultant, and I came back to Detroit and enrolled in mathematics at Wayne State University for a year and a half. I taught for 15 years in India as a K-12 educator, and came back to the United States, finished my master's in economics at the University of Michigan, and I'm presently at the University of Michigan and completed my PhD in economics. So I think that when we talk about this district, what's unique about it, well, the first part of it is that it comprises the entire east side of Detroit. Mm-hmm. And I always, mention my East Side roots. Not only that I come from the East Side and live in the East Side, but I also have been very active in our community. The most important aspect for me is community development, economic development. So Detroit, the East Side of Detroit has some of the highest, poverty rates, somewhere around 80% poverty rates, mm-hmm. Which is very. It's a lot of work if we want to rebuild it. We can just, we can turn our heads and wring our hands with it. And I like to quote, I believe it was Robert Kennedy who quotes George Bernard Shaw, when I walk around the East Side, saying that, people look at the East Side and say, why are things like this? But I like to look at things in the way that they are. I like to dream of things that never were and ask why not. So a lot of the work that I'm doing and that I've been doing in the community is the why not part, is the dreaming of what can be, and actually trying to manifest that through our efforts with City Council and working in the community itself. I'd also like to say that in addition to the East Side of Detroit, it also includes Highland Park as well, which is which has a very similar demographic and experiences the East Side of Detroit in terms of disinvestment and population loss. So I kind of put these two into the same area. We also have Sherwood Forest, University District, a little bit of Boston Edison as well. And now people might ask, okay, well, how can you reconcile these two? And I know a lot of people often ask, well, why did we put these two in the same district? They're kind of miles apart. In addition, you have Indian Village and Lafayette, the Lafayette Park area. So we have some of the most affluent areas in the city and some of the most disinvested areas in the city. But again, I think this is a unique opportunity for us, that we have the right people with the right skill set and the right background that can bring these two together. So a lot of what I do is looking in terms of how can we have grassroots investment that's going to mobilize not only the resources that we have in the city, but also to empower low-income households who normally don't have access to investment. So some of the projects that I've been working on on the east side with our city council and with our with the Senator Chang's office as well has been just to do that.
So when you talk about Detroit, and you're talking about the separation between the east side and west side, and there's a lot of people that feel like the east side is one, the west side is another, and then you're also hearing people talk about the neighborhood versus the downtown. What do you say to that? Because you're in the community, you're all around the city. When you talk about Mack and Bewick, which that's part of your district too, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, we've been knocking doors over there too.
And there's people that may be a little bit reticent about going over there on Mack and Bewick, but Mack and Bewick residents would love to see people to come over there and go into the barbershops, go into the beauty salons, go into a lot of the different businesses, along Mack and Bewick. And it's good to have, candidates that are open-minded to realize I need everybody. I need the support from everybody.
And on the other hand, you got Jefferson Avenue. You got all those beautiful storefronts all the way up to Chalmers, all the way up to Alter. I mean, there's so much potential. And in that sense, I think there might be a generational gap in some of the stuff that we might want to talk about. I'm just going to ask you pretty bluntly, because I think poverty itself is sacrilege in a country like this. But what do you think, what is iFund? What is iFund for boomers?
Okay. So I'm going to try and touch all those points together. I'm going to try and, if I miss something, just kind of remind me, okay? So the first question is, what is about the divide between East Side versus West Side, between downtown, versus the neighborhood? And I think that's why it's important that if we want to try and bridge these divides, you have to have individuals that who aren't necessarily grounded in one particular area. So I think that they spoke about the Voting Rights Act, but I was talking to someone yesterday at the Howman Center about the affirmative action that was just struck down a few years ago by the Supreme Court. And I think that one thing that I saw in that ruling is that they're talking about identifying what are the aspects of affirmative action that what are the merits behind affirmative action. And I can say from my experience, and then one thing that I've been disappointed in is when we look at some of my colleagues who went, who were African American and went to Country Day, went to Dartmouth, these Ivy League schools. I think that our obligation and our responsibility is to come back to our community and to rebuild it, because we have doors that have been opened up for us. We have access. We have networks that other people don't have. But if we use those for our own personal gain and not to rebuild the inner city, then how's that going to happen? Because the individuals that I sat at Country Day with, who live in West Bloomfield, they're not going to be able to come down to Mack and Bewick and start rebuilding, right? So if those of us who go there and have that access don't come back to Mack and Bewick, we are never going to be able to bridge that Mack and Bewick downtown divide. So if we have individuals who come from the east side, who grew up in the Brewsters, but who also have access to other areas of society, that's going to help us to close those type of gaps. Now I have to also be sincere when I talk about Jefferson and Mack and Bewick. I drive there every day. So all I know in Mack and Bewick is that liquor store that's there. So we need to build more stores and more businesses. As I've been saying, the neighborhood economy, and even East Jefferson, we've had the CVS closed. We had a couple of restaurants on East Jefferson that closed. Even IHOP, Anita Baker's IHOP is closed now. So when you see that, as far as the entire East Side corridor, economic corridor, East Jefferson is the heart, the nervous system of the East Side corridor. Now, if these businesses are closing, what do you expect for small businesses to start up? How is it going to be possible? So we've been having too much efforts and too much resources being diverted downtown. Literally, our property taxes are being diverted downtown for investment, and it's coming at the expense of the neighborhood economy. And so when I talk about building growth and how do you attract, we've had some success stories. Like Live 6 is a success story. Even the Kerchever corridor is a success story. So we can rebuild small businesses, but it's going to have to take that same concerted effort that we're having, downtown, to start putting resources into the neighborhood economy, to start building the neighborhood economy itself, which is what my effort has been too. Haven't gotten to the iFund yet. I know you wanted to ask another question before I get into that, or?
Oh no, get into it.
Okay, so when we talk about how do you do it? How do you rebuild the neighborhood economy? And I also want to say that it's not just about about benefiting the neighborhood residents, but it's about how do you actually grow an economy itself? You don't grow an economy by building what I call the sandcastles downtown. Just by having office buildings. We as economists know that if you want to build an economy, it happens through small business growth. So almost always we're looking at targeting small businesses to try and expand small businesses. They grow up to be big businesses, and your economy grows like that. So essentially what the iFund is basically like you can think of it like this, this is an analogy. The same way that a nuclear reactor is a small version of the sun that powers energy for for our society. The iFund is a small scale version of the entire macroeconomy that helps to build wealth, not only for those local neighborhoods, but also for residents. So the way that the iFund works is that we want to create basically a sovereign wealth fund, an investment fund where we can take tax dollars into it, put tax dollars into the iFund. Initially, when we were talking to council members, we had the ARPA funds, almost over $750 million. We were looking at trying to put some of that money into an investment fund for residents. And
explain, because I know what the ARPA funds are, but explain what that acronym stands for.
Oh my goodness. Our exams ended like 2 weeks ago at the university. I think it's the American Rescue Plan Act. Okay, 500 points for me.
Okay.
So
the answer is
so basically that was a one-time injection of capital from the federal government to state and local governments. And so I was stressing the city council at that time that you can't continue to focus on consumption, on spending money. You have the only way that you're going to build wealth is by investment and savings. So there's a University of Michigan department called Poverty Solutions, and as an economist, the only solution to poverty is building wealth. That's just that simple. Either you're going to someone else builds the wealth and you tax them, or you build the wealth. And my idea is that we have enough resources in the city itself. Residents spend $3 billion, it's billion with a B, $3 billion a year in the suburbs. So there's more than enough money if we know how to start pooling it for ourselves. So the idea is that you want to...
Wait, $3 billion in the suburbs, and what's the revenue for the city?
City is, about the same, right? So the city budget is about $3 billion. So you can imagine that we're spending an entire city budget in the suburbs every year. Not to mention that the city budget, a lot of, hundreds of millions of dollars of our budget goes to paying contractors that don't live in the city of Detroit. And in addition to that, even when residents are spending money in the city, most of those businesses are not even owned by residents. So basically you have a lot of leakage out of our economy. So if you compare that to, let's say, Black Wall Street, where the Brookings Institute said that a single dollar would rotate 19 times before it left that economy. Our dollar is gone before it even enters the economy almost,
That's right?
So the idea behind growing an economy is that you want to see how do you expand it. So how do you do that? In looking at, for example, the East Side, and I say the East Side often, I'm called the East Side economist, but I want you to know that when I talk about the East Side, it's just a figurative statement for all the neglected aspects of Detroit. So that would include like Brightmoor, some areas on the West Side, 7 Mile, Leavenworth or whatever.
How about your seat? What does it cover besides the East Side Detroit?
Yeah, so it covers the East Side and Hamtramck Highland Park and what is that? Sherwood Forest, University District, and Boston Edison. So bringing those all together.
So that looks like a great investment plan on paper, but doesn't look good in terms of representing competing cities.
I think so, because I think that they're all looking at the same thing, right? So one thing about Detroit, Highland Park, and and Hamtramck as well, people live in those cities because they're committed to those cities, right? So people in Sherwood Forest, they could very well move out to West Bloomfield. Everyone has an opportunity to move.
They're paying crazy taxes just to stay there.
Precisely. So the idea is that they're paying a tax just to be able to say, because they want to say, I care about Detroit. And so it's that aspect that we want to start to harness in terms of the iFund. So back to the iFund itself, I'm sorry for going back and forth, but if we build this investment fund, it has two objectives. One is to revitalize impoverished neighborhoods. The other is to build wealth among low-income families. So what happens with this investment fund is it serves as an investment bank, where if you have a startup business, you can come to the business itself, to the iFund itself, and ask for an investment, and whether it's $100,000, $10,000, whatever it may be. But it wouldn't be a business loan. I mean, there's different structures. When we're looking at expanding beyond business loans, because we find small businesses end up having to pay interest on those loans immediately, which is taking resources away from them to be able to expand their businesses. So we're actually looking at an equity model where you can think of it like a crowdfunding platform, where you crowdfund for this business, $100,000 raised for this business, but you buy equity in the business. So now you have small low-income households who normally don't have access to investment and savings, who can use the iFund to be able to invest in small businesses where they shop. And that does two things. Now, if I have equity in your business, you have a restaurant or whatever. If I'm thinking about having my next birthday party for my son, well, I should go there because when you make money, I make money. So that incentivizes local residents to shop locally.
But then there's the other end of your argument that I've heard, so I kind of want to bring it in here. What you say is like a lot of City of Detroit people who are quite successful, they're bounded by these high property taxes. They're not able to invest because of these taxes. So where would the money come from for the iFund?
So there are a few things. So one thing is that there's a bill right now, I can't remember the name of the Senate bill, but there's a Senate bill that's looking to have tax incentives that would basically allow, if I decide to invest locally in a local business, I would get a tax credit for that. And so this is precisely what we want to see. Like right now, all of our tax incentives are being given to like the big, billionaire investments downtown. Yeah. That doesn't do anything for our economy, right? And actually, when they give that money away, we don't even own any equity. So we own no equity in the Hudson building. We have no equity in LAC. I remember my neighbor, Miss Joanne, out in Jefferson Chalmers. We were sitting down with, I think, with Councilmember Johnson a few years ago, and she said, and I agree 100% what she's saying, if my tax dollars are going to pay for LAC Arena, I should be able to go down there and sit up in the box and put my feet up on the chair and watch the game. And that's 100% correct, right? Yeah. And so the idea behind this incentive is that we have the same model where I'm going to give money to invest, but this model is more about local investment, number one, which is going to help rebuild our economy. And also the person who gives that investment gets to hold equity in that business. And it's very important because there are, again, two parts of it. One part is that we need to incentivize people to shop locally. A lot of our small businesses complain, I opened up a business, but no one's shopping here. Well, the fact is you haven't given anyone incentive to shop here, So but if you have this model that would help to build that consumer base, that would help to expand our local economies.
So, Detroit, a charter for a city makes it a business. Like, would this be like a corporation, a public corporation in a sense?
Well, hold that thought. We got to take a quick break. So put a pin in that question, Doctor. And we're going to come right back with Toinu Reeves, Dr. Sananda Samadar. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and you're watching a very special edition of Truth to Power. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. If you're behind on your property taxes, we have programs to help. You don't have to lose your house, and you don't have to pay all at once. This summer, our mobile unit will be visiting Wayne County communities to help make it easier to start a payment plan and keep your property. Go online or call to find the plan that's right for you and where you can get help from our mobile unit. The last thing I want is for anyone to lose their property to foreclosure. Make your payments every month and keep your property.
Clean up on aisle 5. Sounds like my life right now. Just one big mess.
What's going on?
It's my property taxes.
What?
I am behind, and I am so worried that I'm going to lose my house. I can pay some of it, but I can't pay it all at once.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Eric Sabri, the Wayne County Treasurer. The last thing I want is for anyone to lose their property to tax foreclosure. We have assistance programs to help.
For more information, go to treasurer.waynecounty.com.
We're here to help.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Matter. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
My name is Darwin Griffin, and I am the host of Truth to Power, which is a thoughtful weekly TV show that airs on WHPR TV 15.2 every Friday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, bringing influential voices and leaders to the forefront to discuss issues that impact our cities, our states, and the world. This show aims to educate, inspire, and engage our audience with people in today's news.
All media platforms are engaged.
Copy.
Get ready to launch your show or product.
Periscope ready. We're 5x5 ready to launch. Copy that.
Trend worldwide across all major platforms.
Ignition. 3, 2, 1.
The world is waiting. Watkins Broadcasting. More than just TV.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
Truth to Power here at Watkins Broadcasting here at WHPR TV, and you can see us on a variety of different platforms, from Roku. You can see us on Amazon. You can see us on 313 Watkins, and you also can see us now. You can hear us. You can see us on Alexa. A lot of you say Alexa. You've got Alexa, Siri, but you can see us on Alexa now. I know that a lot of people will have that opportunity, especially in their vehicles that they travel around in, so they can get an opportunity to be able to go and hear and view us on Alexa as well. But I have to do something before my camera blurs. I got to make sure that I make mention that today is a very special day, and it happens to be our engineer, Tim. Everybody knows Tim Smith, but Timmy Tim. Today is his birthday. That's why he's chuckling in the background. Mm-hmm. And I think last year when I did this, he told me he was 39 when we did this a year ago. So, happy 40th birthday celebration to you, Timmy Tim. So thank you again. But, I also want to say, too, thank you. We were kind of in a little bit of a loop the last couple of weeks because our own general manager, Maxine Willis, was not here with us. So we had to get through a couple of weeks without Miss Willis, and I know that a lot of the shows probably were kind of, we're just kind of shaking our head, like, hey, where's the glue? Where's the hospitality? Where's the person that keeps us all together here over at Watkins Broadcasting? So we welcome Maxine Willis, our general manager, back here in the fold with all of us to keep us on point, keep us on task, on time, and on target. So I hope I got that right. But we are doing a opportunity to give you an opportunity with real people, with real news, and we have soon to be Dr. Toynu Reeves on the show with us.
Eastside economist.
Knock on wood.
And we also have Dr. Sananda Samandar. But before we went to break, Doctor, you had asked Toynu a question and want to kind of get back to that question that you had asked him.
So you were explaining iFunds, and I was kind of wondering a little more about how you saw iFunds. Is it like a corporatized model? And then maybe about like where you see the funds coming from.
Okay. So How does the iFund work? I think is what you're kind of asking about, right? So is it going to be owned by, is it going to be a government entity? Is it going to be a private entity? So this is going to be 100% private entity. And it may be, we may have like a public-private partnership. We're looking at several different models right now. So I'm working with some of my colleagues at the University of Michigan Ross School of Business. They have a DNET program, the Detroit Neighborhood Entrepreneurial Program.
With the block clubs?
With the businesses.
Okay.
And also Prosper Us and NC3, which is the National Coalition of Community Investment. So, community capital. So we're looking at different models, but we want it to be privately owned. Now, the reason I'm saying privately owned, well, first when I say privately, I mean privately owned by residents, not by like some private corporation, but it's going to be completely resident owned.
You call it resident-owned capitalism.
Yeah, correct.
That's kind of fun.
So we're looking at a community capital model. So I think that these are the models that we should be, that we want to start migrating over into if we want to start seeing investment in our neighborhoods, because it brings both the solution to poverty and also brings a solution to growing a local economy.
And it kind of resolves a broader kind of ailment, which is like we went into emergency financial management. Perhaps you can go into that later, because the state was withholding our income. Now we see like the federal government is very much in debt. We don't know how that's going to affect states, let alone how that's going to affect state relationships with the city.
Right.
So, I mean, how many cities are thinking about this? Is Detroit the first one?
So for this type of a model, a community capital model, there's been several of them across. Like these are mostly happening in small rural communities or like suburbs or whatever.
Yeah.
I know one of my close friends, Chris Miller, who's down in Adrian, Michigan. They basically rebuilt Adrian by having a crowd fund of raising money to start 2 small businesses. And they basically use that to expand the entire local economy. So for the reason that coming back to your first question, should it be privately owned? The reason that we want it to be privately owned is because we want to make sure that residents, they're the consumers in the marketplace. So we talk about businesses, why they're successful or not. So one issue that we've had on East Jefferson Chalmers area, is that you have businesses that start up because they're passionate, but they may not be providing a service that local residents want to consume. And so now they're taking a risk, but there may not be support for it. So our model, by having consumers be the owners of the fund itself, they're going to be making the determination as to how the money's going to be deployed. So let me kind of just walk through the entire process. We have, an investment fund. Let's say we start off with something small, like $200,000 or whatever. We're going to be making, and we're going to be giving $50,000 either loans or equity investments to local businesses. So how do we choose a business? So first thing, we're going to have the traditional money lenders. This is where kind of Prosper Us and DNET would come into place. They have a very long history working in Detroit, that goes beyond 10 years. They know some of the businesses, they know their business models. So we want to have a very formal evaluation of the business health, the financial health of the business, to basically kind of give you a clearance. But after that, we're gonna be handing investment stipends.
So if you have a small business and you're applying to be part of this model, would you simply evaluate it, or would you give them guidance? Because small businesses means families, right?
Yeah. So
families and schools.
So we're talking about like the initial models. It'll be more of it would be both, right? So you're providing guidance in terms of how to help their business financially.
Because how would other people not just expand into these areas then? Once you segue into it, how do we know? How do we make it Detroiters expanding into this area?
So as far as the fund is concerned, there's 2 things, right? So one thing is, as a small business in Detroit, I'm going to apply to the fund for funding. And then based on so the first thing is to get past the financial. So you have your financial hurdles that you get past. After that, each resident's going to have an investment stipend. So basically, you're buying a share in a company. So you have an ice cream store, I have a restaurant, you have a financial services business, whatever. And so as a resident investor, I get to choose who I'm going to invest in. Now, if I believe that, his ice cream shop is going to have more profit than yours, then I'm going to invest there. So this is how the entire stock market works, right? Something called as the efficient market hypothesis, which says that you're never going to be able to outperform the stock market, right? That's because all the information that's out there is going to go into determining who's going to buy which stocks. This is why Kalshi is so effective right now, predicting whatever. So now that I'm a resident investor, I live in Jefferson Chalmers. I know what's going to be profitable, what's not. If I'm on Mac and Bewick, I know what's going to be profitable, what's not. Someone like Chase Bank, they have no idea which are going to be the more profitable businesses.
Right.
And so this is what basically opens up the entire market for investment, even outside of the city of Detroit, because the question marks that people from outside have is, okay, if I give my money to someone in Detroit, how do I know it's going to be successful? That's the gap that you're closing with the iFund, because now you have local residents who know what's successful and what's not going to be successful in their neighborhoods. They're going to put their money where their mouth is, and now you can see where the money's going, and you'll be able to identify that. The second part of it is we're basically subsidizing investment. So this is the part that we miss out on. So coming back to like this idea behind the big parties we spoke about earlier, and I think this is why Democrats often continue losing these big races, the federal and state level, is because Americans they connect with our values, but they don't connect with our policies. And I'll give you an example. So since the war on poverty, we spent almost $31 trillion, more than the entire U.S. GDP, almost 20% of global GDP. We've spent that on poverty, $31 billion, $1.2 trillion. I'm sorry, $31 trillion. I'm sorry, $1.2 trillion every year. But we still have 80% poverty rate. Our 80% poverty rate on the east side of Detroit.
Yeah.
And so that means that our base feels abandoned. Nothing changes in our lives over the past 50 years, and that's what leads to low voter turnout, And then on the other side, when it comes to Middle America, okay, I don't mind, providing. This is some of my colleagues from Country Day will say this, who are Republicans. We want to pay for public education. We want to pay for for housing and hospital services, but we never see any changes at all.
But it's a key to one of your critiques that you say that most of these government programs are about survival. They're not about building wealth. A mother can go use her Medicaid and buy Kool-Aid, but she can't buy a house or a car or a book.
Exactly. And so when we look at these programs are all designed to close consumption gaps. They're designed to, whether it's food consumption or housing consumption or medical services, whatever, they're definitely necessary. But they're never going to be a solution to poverty.
Just survival.
Right. They're giving us enough money to live in poverty, but not enough money to come out of poverty. A hand up, not a hand out. And so basically what we're looking at now is providing them an investment opportunity. Again, if you want to build wealth only comes through investment and savings. Our problem is that we don't have savings. We have lots of consumption. And so this model is a model in which we're going to, even for low-income households, we're going to basically subsidize their investment, because we know that it's going to have two results. Number one, that money that we're giving them is going to help revitalize local economies that are in distress. And the other thing about it is that it's also going to provide money in their pockets. It's going to provide generational wealth for them that eventually will help them out of poverty.
Now, is this what you mean by Michigan should get lost?
It's a little bit different. You have another question before I get to that one.
I wanted to ask you primarily when you look in terms of, say, at a program like this, do you really think that it can pass in a divided or Republican-controlled legislature?
100% yes.
Why do you say that?
Because so what are we doing here? So before I get to that part, I wanted to say that how is this different than like a co-op model? People ask me that question often. Okay, so in a co-op model, it's essentially the same structure, but in a co-op model, you're going to be lowering prices, right? So basically, a co-op model, what it is, they're going to say, well, if you want to buy a bottle of water, maybe it costs $1 when you buy it, but it costs maybe 30 cents for them to buy it at the store level. So what a co-op says is we're going to reduce that price and keep it at 30 cents so that our consumers can save money. Well, the problem is that when they save money, they're going to go and spend it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you haven't solved that problem of investment yet. In our model, the investment fund model, the iFund model, you were going to pay $1 for that water, right? So I'm going to still charge you $1 for the water, but that 70 cents is not going to go to someone else. I'm going to put it in a piggy bank for you. So basically, this is a model of forcing savings through consumption. So as they consume, that profit that would normally go to a private owner, we're going to make sure that money that we accumulate that money and reinvest it in other businesses to expand. So you may start off with a grocery store. It makes $10 million investment. We're not going to pay out in dividends. We're going to reinvest it in another store, in another store, in another store, until you have this multiplicative aspect where you can grow your economy. After which time, then you can make the dividend payments. But now, why would Republicans be interested in supporting this?
Because especially when you have, look at the neighboring cities around Detroit. When you talk about Chalmers, Jefferson area, they could just go a little bit further and go across Alta Road and be right there where you got businesses right there in the parks, Grosse Pointe Park, Grosse Pointe Woods, and some other communities over there. What's really attracting them to come here in Detroit to, shop at some of the businesses in Chalmers, Jefferson, Alta, Connor, Dickerson, up through that area.
Right. So your first question is about the Republican legislature, and I'll come to that second question. Okay. So why would a Republican government be supportive of this idea? So either way, we have low income households that need to be supported. So the current model is the tax and spend model. So we keep taxing people and we spend it on consumption. Mine is the tax and lend model. We'll tax you one time, invest in local businesses. Those businesses, this is not a recurring investment model. After we have our single, investment, public investment, then the fund is going to be regenerating. It'll provide profit for
recidivist where it comes back into. Okay.
So we're not looking at multiple rounds of taxation. More importantly, when we start investing in these local businesses start paying income taxes, payroll taxes, property taxes, sales taxes. So they're actually taxing. They're actually generating revenue for the government. So this is the first anti-poverty program that's going to be revenue neutral in the sense that if we start off with say for example, a $2 million investment from the government, we're going to pay far more than $2 million in tax revenue that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So we're paying back the money that they give us through the revenue that we generate. More importantly, we're likely over time we're gonna be paying more revenue to the government than they would have received in that initial payment to us. Okay. So basically, looking at a model that reduces expenditure from the government. If we have low income households that are no longer reliant on government support, we've cut down the expenditure on government, and at the same time, we've increased the government revenue. So we've actually made a much more balanced budget that I'm sure any Republican or any Democrat would be in favor of.
Okay.
Now, the second question was about why would we want to have people coming over to shop. Well, the other part of it is simply like if you look at, again, Live 6, looking at, downtown, like we have downtown area, we have Myers. There are models where we've already shown that we can draw people from outside of the community to come into our economy to spend money. So I think that this is more about how do we select the right stores in the right places to make it happen.
And so what about risk? And what if a business fails? What happens?
So this model, now you're getting into the weeds here, but this model, it has a built-in a built-in mechanism that helps support that, right? So first of all, we reduce risk by, again, making sure that we're going to consumers, resident consumers, who are going to be the investors as well. So when you have that, that's helping to mitigate the risk in terms of the unknown quantity of are people interested in this business? When people are putting their money there, we know that they have some type of support as consumers. The second part is if a business does fail. Suppose we have in the investment fund itself, this is going to operate like almost like a mutual fund. We have several businesses. So if one business fails, like one barbershop fails and we have 10 barbershops, that the other 10 barbershops can basically take over that business's clientele, their costs, and it can reduce a lot of the risk that we would otherwise face if you have like a one business model.
So you're constantly repooling human capital.
Exactly. Human capital, financial capital, both.
Well, the one thing that I want to ask you too is that now, if this works, what changes in Detroit neighborhoods do you see over the next 5 to 10 years?
Right, exactly. That's beautiful. And this is coming back to the, I like to dream of things that never were, right? And so
yeah, when I think about that RFK, with that. But go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So I see a Detroit that was not different than the Detroit that I grew up in when I was a small child, where we had small businesses all throughout East Jefferson. If you go there now, they're all boarded up. But when I see them, I don't see the boarded buildings. I see the buildings that are going to be there tomorrow when we build this up, right? So if we're able to invest in like 2 or 3 small businesses, in 1 year. Over 5 years, maybe we have 10 businesses. Over 10 years, we can have 100 businesses. And all of these businesses are going to be owned by residents. And so this is the first time. And the thing you have to also understand, when we rebuilt downtown Detroit, we had an opportunity right then. If we had to purchase equity on behalf of low-income households, we would have rebuilt their wealth by now. And so this is a model where now when you see these businesses growing, not only do you see a beautiful, vibrant local economy, but you also understand that all of those local businesses are going to be owned by residents. All the money that we generate, all the profit that we generate is going to be owned by residents. They're going to have equity stake, where that equity that they built is going to represent generational wealth, not just for themselves, but also for their future. So we've closed up. I see a future where we've revitalized an entire disinvested neighborhood, and we've also raised the median wealth of every single low-income household. Now, the solution for building wealth in Detroit, the present model is, let's give our tax dollars to local billionaires, the same ones who profited when Detroit lost their homes and our neighborhoods were destroyed. Let's give money to them to rebuild downtown, make them wealthy, and let's push out the low-income households. Now we've raised the wealth, the amount of wealth in our city. My model is where we don't cheat. We're taking people who are low income, building their wealth to raise the median wealth in Detroit, and we're doing this by investing in our people, in our communities, and in our neighborhoods.
Now, one thing too, when we, I know you were involved with the Reparations Task Force, and when we look at reparations, because there's a lot of people that are concerned about reparations. Where's the money going to come from? What are we going to use the money towards? What people are going to be eligible to receive the money? And then the other thing I want to ask you about too is that there's that corridor right there, the 375 corridor, where they're talking about trying to reestablish businesses back in that area. We've got the entertainment district. That's pretty much going along where Fox, going from my school, from Cass Tech, from the casino all the way down to, past Comerica Park, past Ford Field, and that whole corridor right there that they want to look at as kind of like an entertainment type district. But then they connect right there at 375, where they're talking about a Paradise Valley, or to repeat like what they had with Black Bottom and, businesses up through there. What's your thoughts on that? Especially in terms, say, because the current governor has been looking at this plan for years, and we still haven't done anything to fill that little, the put some dirt into that little stretch of highway. And there's a lot of people that would like to see that. They saw how Paradise Valley, how Black Bottom, and with Albert Cobo just eradicated all those businesses up through there. Do you have a plan, or what would you think would be your plan to pretty much like revitalize that downtown area right there to get more people, especially like in the Lafayette corridor, through Lafayette, and some of those streets along that 375 corridor?
So there's a couple things you touched upon, and I think that I'm going to get back to Dr. Samadar's question about getting lost. So it's going to kind of tie into this in a minute. So
yeah, because we got a few minutes left, so I don't want to. I don't want to take too much time, because I do want to let you mention too. And let's do this real quick first before you go back into Dr. Samadar's question. Give your contact information as to if somebody would like to come and support you, to donate to your campaign. What's the website? What's the phone number that they would contact you at?
So make sure you go to Toinu Reeves. I'll spell that for you. It's TOINU. TOINU.org. You can donate there. You can also reach us at my phone number, 313-217-1089. Again, 313-217-1089. So Toinu is my first name, TOINU .org. And you can also you can also reach out to our campaign at info at toinu.org. That's TOINU.org. And again, the phone number is 313-217-1089.
And if there's anyone that's running in that race, I don't want to mention one name because I would leave somebody out. I know when we did the candidate forum, we had a lot of people that were there at the candidate forum. But if you are running for that seat, State Senate District 3, please contact Ms. Willis, 313-868-4336, so we can get your voices heard here at Truth to Power. Now you can go back to your question about the loss.
Okay, so your first question is about this investment downtown in Paradise Valley. So every economic or every government intervention in our neighborhood can either empower us or it can exploit us. Mm-hmm. So I don't care what the program is. I don't care what your intentions are. Most of these things that have been done with good intentions have exploited us. Mm-hmm. And so my focus is to make sure that whatever these programs are, they're designed to empower Detroit residents, not to exploit residents. And so this is the idea behind the iFund in itself, that there's no reason why if you want to rebuild Paradise Valley, you destroy you destroy Black Bottom. Now you want to rebuild it and make sure that someone else profits from it. What's the point? What's the point? You've exploited us twice. I grew up in that area too, off of Mack and Chrysler. So if you want to rebuild our whatever it may be, I'm going to oppose it, tooth and nail, unless you show me a clear path that residents in that city, people who've been impacted, are going to be the beneficiaries in terms of the equity investment. I'm not talking about a few handouts. I'm not talking about having a street named after somebody. Who owns the equity in that investment? If it's not going to be Detroit residents, then I have no support for that at all whatsoever.
That would be the first reparation.
It would definitely be so. And so the question that you talk about the quarters downtown, and so this comes to the idea that you were asking about, why do I say Michigan should get lost? And so essentially, what I do my research on, I do my research, and I'm a macroeconomist by trade, macroeconomics and international trade, but I'm actually studying tax policy and public policy, public finance. And so my dissertation research is in local option sales taxes. So what is a local option sales tax? So when I say Detroit should get lost or Michigan should get lost, it's an acronym for local option sales tax, LOST. So that's the nickname that you might hear it by. And so Michigan should get lost, meaning that Michigan should get a local option sales tax. So how does this work? So what it does is it gives Michigan residents, actually gives local residents the ability to collect a sales tax in their jurisdiction. So that for Detroit residents, that would be Detroit. For Wayne County, would be Wayne County, whatever. So every local government has that opportunity. Every resident in the local governments have that opportunity. And so this money can be used for whatever the local residents decide that they can be used for. So our money, we spend a lot of money, and when I'm knocking doors on the east side of Detroit, I think this is something that resounds with almost every Detroiter, no matter who you are, even the ones you spoke about in Sherwood Forest are paying high property taxes. Mm-hmm. All of our tax money is going to investment downtown. Mm-hmm. We built downtown. We made it into a lucrative investment, but we're not getting any benefit from it. So what a local sales tax does is it allows us to have a sales tax in the downtown area, so that when people come for the auto show, for the Grand Prix, even for the NFL draft and see the Final Four tournament, people are spending money there. We can collect that sales tax revenue and start investing it downtown, into our neighborhoods.
Can you tell viewers how many states do or do not have a local sales tax option, and what that did for Detroit?
Yeah, so out of all the states that have a local that have a sales tax, 80% of these states have a local option sales tax. And that includes almost every state you've been to. If we've been to Chicago, you know that you're spending almost, I guess most people don't pay attention, right?
Yeah.
But this is the kind of beauty behind the sales tax. If anyone's been to Chicago, if I ask you, what is the sales tax in Chicago, no one has any idea. And the benefit of that is because people are there to spend money. They're there to be on vacation. They're not bargain hunting. And so basically what this does is, it shifts the burden from Detroit or Michigan residents to people who are coming from outside of the state and spending money. So when we go out on vacation to Chicago, they're collecting 10% sales tax on us. When they come here, we're very hospitable. We only charge them 6%. So basically, we're exporting all of our revenue to Chicago and not collecting any of that money back. And so this local sales tax allows us, and the reason it has to be localized is because the state of Illinois is not going to raise their sales tax to 10%.
Yeah,
it would crush their entire economy. But you can have a sales tax in Chicago without hurting their economy because they have a lot more people who want to come there for tourism and everything else. So the same would be true for Michigan. You have Traverse City, you have Mackinac Island, you have game day in Ann Arbor, where people are coming from all over the country to come spend money. that's when you want to raise the sales tax.
And you've already been commissioned, right, by the city council to explore the application of this.
Right.
Could you say what? I know I'm trying to make it a little faster. Could you say what this might mean for sales taxes for Detroiters if it's implemented?
Yeah. So we had almost $500,000 for both the iFund and for the local sales tax research. And what the research showed is that so you might have heard the mayor talking about an entertainment tax. So it's essentially the same thing. Talk about the entertainment corridor. So it's essentially the same thing. There's a small difference between what's taxable and what's not. So a sales tax is anything that's taxable that we tax in Michigan. The one reason we're looking at an entertainment tax is because ticket sales are not part of a sales tax. So if you want to bring those into it, you need to have a separate mechanism for that. So looking at the entertainment tax and the sales tax combined together, that would be about $200 million a year we're looking at bringing to the city of Detroit. That's $200 million a year, almost $250 million a year, which would reduce our property taxes by 12 to 25%. So this would allow, we spoke earlier about how is Sherwood Forest going to be able to benefit from this?
Yeah.
These are the individuals that we want to have investing in the local communities in the iFund. So by lowering their property taxes and also giving them a tax incentive to invest locally, we can free up capital to invest it locally into our local economy, expand it as well.
Now I'm going to go left field because we only have like 2 minutes left.
We don't even have 2 minutes left. We got probably 2 seconds.
This is beautiful with a 10% voter turnout. What do you say to that? What do you say to the culture of belief in Detroit when we have such brilliant plans? And
yeah, well, some people they talk about the local sales tax being regressive, and the idea is that you're going to actually help low-income households because when you look at what people spend downtown, most low-income households don't spend a lot of money downtown. So it's not going to be at all regressive. And then more importantly, you're talking about having money, raising money that they don't have. All of our services are always under threat. Now that we have another $200 million, we can pay that for services that we can't normally pay for, whether it's child care, education, and other sorts of things as well.
Okay, we got to take a break so we can get to our next show, but we appreciate you being on the show with us today. We definitely have to ask you to come back on again. And we have been joined by Dr. Toinu Reeves.
Not quite. PhD candidate still. But it's okay.
I want to say doctor, delicate. but we are joined by Toinu Reeves. We were joined by Dr. Sananda Samadar. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and want you to know that we really appreciate you. We appreciate your viewership, and we at Watkins Broadcasting would like to tell everyone, here's the sound of my voice, that views us on this show, to have a very, very peaceful and have a safe holiday Memorial Day weekend. And again, want to wish our engineer, Tim Scott, a happy 40th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Tim Smith. They have a happy birthday. Tim, have a happy birthday. Enjoy it, Tim Smith.